Hello team, Tony Boffer from Bilzar back again and wanting to talk to you about how do we make profits on Amazon? Is it possible in 2020 to make profits on Amazon? Well, we say the answer is yes. And I want to just go through a document that I did. It's an article I've actually written for a newspaper and something that might be useful for you as well. And I thought I'd just put it into a video, but really I'm just going through the article, nothing special. But what I wanted to share was that there's no question that Amazon is getting harder and harder to work on, and 2020 will be probably harder than most years for the simple reason that here we are, March the 1st today. Actually, it's March the 2nd today. Yes, it is. It's March the 1st today, Sunday, March the 1st, in Australia. And look, the coronavirus has really had an impact, and things will get better, will get worse before they get better. There's no doubt about that. The impact is not really going to be seen for many months ahead. So this could be a horrible year for sellers. It could be a great year for sellers who make the most of the opportunity, because if they have good products that are in strong demand, the competition is going to fall off, no question. The competition will reduce because there's going to be less people who have the opportunity to source products. Simple as that. I just saw an article today that Chinese factories are at their lowest level ever. So that means they are not churning out as many products as they ever have. So it's could be good, could be bad, depending on where you're placed. If you have lots of stock and you have an in-demand product, you can make a killing this year. It could be your best year ever. If you don't have stock and you can't get stock, well, look for other work to do because it's going to be very, very difficult. All right, now let's get back to the topic. So, yes, the answer is yes, you can make money on Amazon, and there are 4 different ways to sell on Amazon. And they are retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, and private label. If you don't know Bilzar, you know that we focus purely on private label. Main reason we do retail arbitrage is a lot of people, a lot of so-called gurus out there who can teach you about retail and online arbitrage. It's really nothing special. It's just going out there, finding a product in a retail store, Walmart or wherever, buying it for a few dollars and then selling it on Amazon. You see if its price is $20 or something, selling it for a profit on Amazon. That's all that is. Online arbitrage is similar. You're simply buying from one website, getting it in, putting a label on it or putting a barcode on it, sell it on Amazon, and then you make a profit that way. That's all well and good. I know a lot of people that have actually made a real lot of money out of it. They really have teams of people going out looking for products that are dirt cheap in retail stores or on websites and selling on Amazon with a great profit. You can do that, and you can make money on Amazon doing that. It is labor intensive though. You've got to keep at it. If you stop work, then you stop getting money. Simple as that. So definitely something you can do, but not something we love because of the lack of passiveness about it, if that's a term. So not one of the things that we recommend or suggest that you do, but each to their own. As I said, many people making a lot of money. Same as wholesale. A lot of people have made tons of money. What's that guy's name? Watch Me Amazon. He has made millions out of being a great wholesaler. E-tails, one of the biggest sellers on Amazon, purely wholesale. Some people are brilliant at it. If you can get, great partnerships with manufacturers, preferably in the States, local manufacturers, if you can build those relationships, if you can get exclusive arrangements with them as their exclusive wholesaler, you can make millions. No doubt about it. At Bilzar, we started off with wholesale and it was terrible, very, very difficult. I lived in the States for 6 months trying to set up relationships with manufacturers and people I didn't know. They didn't know me, I didn't know them. We couldn't get any exclusivity. We tried to sell with other wholesalers, and it was very, very difficult, very difficult. Most of the companies that are manufacturers have already been approached by Amazon sellers and have a deal going with them. So, why would they add on another person to share up the slice of the pie? So, for example, if you're a Nike and they have 3 wholesalers already, then why would they want to sell to you as well? You're not going to sell more for them. So it's very, very difficult. No doubt, I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely one way to make money on Amazon. Just something we personally didn't enjoy and didn't make money out of. So, each to their own. We did a couple of the bigger courses as well, and to learn the right methods. But always comes down to that relationship you have with the supplier and the manufacturer to be able to sell their brand exclusively. All right, so that leaves private label, and that's our focus, or white labeling, we can call it. Some people call it white label, we call it private label. Each to their own. Basically, what we say is you find a manufacturer, you modify the product to be your own, so it becomes yours. You sell it under your brand, and it's basically your product. As I've mentioned here, option one to a low-cost entry, the arbitrage, but there are other issues with it. Same with wholesale, and the other thing too that's important is to understand that with private label. It's very, very popular, but it's getting harder. And the reason it's getting harder is because of the competition. We'll see what happens after the coronavirus, where the competition falls away again. But there's been a lot of Chinese sellers, many, many Chinese sellers who have made huge money simply because they are either the manufacturer or are very close to a manufacturer. And in effect, they're basically taken their product, put their label on it, and come in at much lower prices than Western sellers can do, or American sellers can do. So it's becoming more and more competitive. And what does that mean? When it's more competitive, there's more and more people scrambling to get to page one. Sales are higher to get to page one. So you've got to basically get to page one to be successful on Amazon. Okay. And this is why I say at the top of this page, to really be successful, you need to invest at least 5,000 to 10,000 to start. And I think realistically, it's more like 10,000. If you don't have that money in your pocket, if you don't have that money available, I'm not saying go out and borrow $20,000 or $10,000. I would not recommend that at all. But if you don't have that money at the start, I would not recommend private label to start with. You might want to do some arbitrage or wholesaling or something simple to get some funds going. But I wouldn't jump into private label unless you had at least that amount of money in the bank ready to spend and happy to lose, really, because it's potentially, if you don't do it right, it's quite a good chance that you will lose that money. Okay, I'll explain why here. So why do I say so much? Say, for example, you want to sell a product for $20 on Amazon. Your typical landed cost, we work by the 5 rule. That is that if it costs landed $4, you should be able to sell it for about 5 times that, which is $20. So that's a guide, right? Okay, so let's say that it does cost you $4. If you want to sell $20 a day, that is what you do is you do your research, you see how many units a day is required to get to page one. Let's say it is 20 units a day, okay? That's 600 units a month. That's going to cost you 600 units times 4 is $2,400 for 1 month's stock. However, the cardinal rule on Amazon is never, ever run out of stock, okay? Why? Because if you run out of stock, there's 2 problems with it. Number one, straight away you lose your ranking. If you're out of stock, you'll lose your ranking, and you'll lose it very, very quickly, right? If you run out of stock for a month or so, you basically got to start again. Number 2 is Amazon looks very, very unfavorably to you if you are running out of stock and if you do that continuously. And you'll find it so much harder to gain ranking. It's almost like the algorithm says, no, this guy's not reliable. We're not going to give him the ranking again. Okay, ranking always comes down to sales velocity. We know that, how many sales you can make. The biggest seller definitely makes more, is the one that's going to rank more quickly and make the most money, okay? But if you are not, if you're running out of stock continuously, then definitely you're not going to get that same opportunity. So number 1 rule, never run out of stock. So therefore, if you think that you need to sell 600 units a month, you need to have about 3 months stock if you're sending it by sea. The reason is because it takes, let's say you sell 600 a month, you need at least that 2-month extra lead time to get before you get more stock in. And you need the cash as well. You need the cash from the sale to be able to afford the extra stock. So that's why I'm saying at the start, you must have at least 3 months of inventory available there. Okay, I'm not saying to send it all in at the same time, but I'm saying you should have the money available to cover the 3 months stock. Okay, so that's a total stock of $7,200, right? That's the cost of the stock at $4. Okay, so 1,800 times 4. So based on that, you do need to sell a lot more. And if you need to sell a lot more, then what you need to do as well is your marketing costs. You've got to do social media. You've got to do PPC. You've got to do rank and review, right? We say you need to add at least another 50%. Okay, that's at least another 50% to that over the 3 months. So that's another $3,500. So that's over $10,000 if you just want to sell 20 units a day. Okay, that's it. So if you wanted to sell more, then the costs are going to be even more. Because we are using the premise, you never want to run out of stock, and that's what I'm talking about here. We used a couple of examples here. Let's say the lander costs us $3. Let's say you sell 300 units a month, then you need about 900 units plus the marketing. You need about $4,000, right? That would be the absolute lowest. That's if you only sold, 300 a month, which is only 10 a day. Okay, and then if as the cost of the goods goes up, let's say you get up to $20 cost, you might want to sell it, mind you. You might be selling it for $50 or $80 or something. And if you want to sell 30 units a day, you see you need about $81,000 to start up. So you can see it quickly increases. Okay, it does quickly increase as the cost of the goods increases as well. This is a conservative marketing value. You might need to spend more at launch. There's a lot of money you're giving away. PPC, rank and review, giveaways, discounts, etc., etc. Very important. You've got to do that when you launch. And if you don't know how to launch, I've got a launch process I can show you as well. All right. So that is that. The common mistakes that people do make is a number of things. Number one is obviously not choosing the right product. There are a number of tools you can use to source the right products. We've got a 20-point plan on how to source products, and we give it a score out of 20. And that is a pretty good guide, we find, that shows you how to source the right product. So poor product choice is a major problem. If you pay too much for stock, that's a major problem. The Chinese have got a big advantage over the Americans. Typically, they always pay a lot less for their stock than Americans do. So Chinese sellers do have that advantage over the Americans if you're buying from China. Obviously, having poor research. If you're not researched the market demand, if the demand's not there, then that's terrible. If you've got too much competition, if it's saturated, that's terrible. If you don't differentiate, if you're selling a Me Too product these days, honestly, you're wasting your time. You've got to differentiate in some form. That includes unique features and benefits, obviously. You do need to understand the top search keywords that are used for listing. And we use the competitor Cerebro method. We've got another video on that. It shows you what keywords you need in your title, in your bullet points, in the back end, in PPC, etc. All right, and that's why we say a poorly developed title and bullet points is very, very poor. Obviously, good English and grammar is important, and understanding what the needs are. Images are everything. The main image is huge. It's worth spending a lot of money to get professional images, and the main image is massive. We strongly recommend pickfood.com. I should have written this. Strongly recommend service like pickfood.com to test images. Okay? Very important. PPC at the start, we think you do need to be really aggressive, and we've got certain techniques that we use to try and map the top sellers, and you've got to be aggressive with your PPC. Definitely do at the start. You're launching. It's all about ranking, so PPC can help you. Not sending enough stock to Amazon, as I mentioned, you've got to plan ahead. So, you've really got to know how much you want to sell. So this sort of thing is important, right? You really need to study the market, and you need to know how much you can sell or how much you want to sell to get to page one. All right, so you've got to choose very carefully. It's all very much intertwined, okay? So that is important. So as I mentioned, running out of stock is a big no-no. Don't run out of stock. Common mistake. These days, you've got to use social media. They're calling it omni marketing. Facebook, ManyChat, Instagram, social influencers, very important. I'll write down here, omni marketing. I didn't mention Pinterest, and Pinterest is important, and it's getting more and more important. So I'll add that in. Joe Rushfield will be happy that I've mentioned Pinterest. He's the Pinterest guru. But omni marketing is very, very important. Okay. You've got to have a trademark. You've got to be brand registered. Very important. You can now use Amazon IP Accelerator program. It's very quick. I believe you can get it in a couple of weeks if you play your cards right. That is getting brand registry. You've got to pursue reviews. ManyChat rank and review is brilliant. I'll write it down here. ManyChat rank and review is brilliant. So definitely recommend that. There are other ways to do it. You can use Vine. You can definitely use Vine. You can use the early reviewer program, etc. Vine is touch and go. Some people have used Vine and got 3-star reviews, which is terrible. So if you're going to use Vine, be sure that your product is good. It's got to be a damn good product. So please make sure that if you're going to use Vine, you're going to get honest reviews. No question, you can't manipulate Vine. And they might be 3-star reviews. So maybe tread carefully with Vine. That is, maybe just start with 5 or 10 and just see how they go. All right. Hopefully they're 5-star reviews. And also not giving away enough products to get to ranking. Some people are too conservative. For example, if they know they've got to sell 20 products a day to get to page 1, they say, oh, I can't afford 20 a day. I only want to do 5 a day. You're never going to get to page 1. All right. You've got to do that for at least 10 days. Some people go to 15 days. So very, very important. Okay. All right, so that's the tough news, and then the mistakes. The good news is that if you do follow a good launch process, then you can be very successful. There's such thing called the honeymoon period. People have been talking about, some of the gurus are talking about now. I didn't believe it at first, but I do. I've seen some great results when people have made use of the honeymoon period. There's definitely evidence that Amazon favors new sellers in the first 21 days. So you set your launch and release date way ahead until you've got stock in Amazon. When you've got stock in Amazon, change your launch period to the date that you've got the stock, or just before, a couple of days before, and that will maximize your 21-day honeymoon period with Amazon. Make sure, though, before you have listed on Amazon, that you've got samples going out to social influencers so they can be commenting on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Get these influencers and ambassadors to sample your product. Give them free samples. This is all part of the marketing cost. It's very important. Give them as many free products as they'd like in exchange for testimonials. So you're creating a buzz. Even before the product is launched, you've got people ready to order because they've got such a big interest in them. Okay. You can offer discounts if you want to just get pure ranking. There are Facebook groups that you can offer single-use discount codes. You can control that. You can suggest 5, 10 a day, 20 a day, whatever, and you can get away with 50 to 70. You don't want to do more than 50 these days, 50% discount, I mean, and you can do that for a week or so. While your price is low, it'll still work out pretty, inexpensive, but it is a cost, okay? At the same time, we recommend setting up a Facebook page, making sure you should have a Facebook page well before your launch, but you should actually have it months before your launch. All the big sellers have their Facebook pages ready to go 2 to 3 months at least before their launch. Very important. One great way to get followers is to have a prize competition. We say $500 minimum, but it's up to you. You do $1,000 if you want to. And you're giving away your goods, all right, as a competition. This gets a lot of interest. As soon as they click, they become a ManyChat subscriber. You've got them as a subscriber to do rank, review, promotions, discount, and they're your customers. They're not Amazon. They're your customers. That's really, really important. Okay. At the same time, we mentioned about creating a buzz on social media. Very important. And then we talk about rank and review as well. Okay, that's really important. Use the top keywords to get yourself ranking. You set up the flow beautifully so that you can get reviews. Typically, if you can get, we've got as high as 50% review rate, but typically you can get 20 to 30% review rate, which is great. So that means if they order 10 a day, you should get at least 2 or 3 reviews out of that per day. So that'll really help you get reviews and, safely too. PPC, very important as well. Include your PPC. Make sure you're following the right methods that allow you to target the top sellers, that you map the top sellers. This is very important. And we have a range of sequences and strategies to do that, okay? And that's all down here. If you want a copy of this article, and then basically you're off and running. You should be on page 1 after at least, hopefully in a week, if not within 1 to 2 weeks, you should be on page 1. Okay, definitely. If you're not on page 1 after 2 weeks, something's gone wrong. You haven't followed the process correctly. You haven't been aggressive enough, or you've just basically made a bad product choice and it's too saturated. But you should know well before you start. You should actually know where you're going to be, because you've worked out, you've done the research, you've worked out how many units are needed to get to page 1, how many units per day you need to give away or sell to get to page 1. You should have that information even before you actually buy the product from your supplier. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. It's a quick little summary. If you want a copy of this article, if you want a copy of our launch process, most welcome to it. Just give me a buzz. Tony from Bilzar, thank you so much for your time. I've got to find my Loom video to say goodbye, and thanks again, guys. All the best. See ya.